Today we will talk about functional safety using as an example equipment that can be found in every fitness club, treadmills. They are used very often, and this is the reason why we use them as an example of machines that can be dangerous to humans. We've got two treadmills, A and B. The treadmill A will be a fancy treadmill with bells and whistles. It has nice looking handles, chrome elements that shiny nicely. There is a display, some buttons. It is also super wide, generally looks like from the top shelf. And on the other side, we've got treadmill B. This is just a bare bar wheel shelf with a running belt. There is no handles, no display. It is even narrower. What do we know about them? We know the functions of these treadmills, and we also have access to technical documentation. It means not just ordinary instruction, but service documentation, which is not available for average user.
Okay, I visualized it. So on the left side it's a grade one, and on the right it's a piece of junk. So which treadmill do you think is designed in accordance with the standard describing functional safety?
My eyes go immediately to the left, to this super fancy treadmill, because it looks decent, like a high-end product. It has a wide running belt, it has handles here to support yourself, a safety strap that you can put on your hand if you get off or maybe even fall. If something happened, it will stop immediately. There is super large display. There will be a latest, I don't know, maybe even 10 inches, multicolored, a panel with color buttons. This treadmill looks safe.
It's clear, but these are the functions that I, as a user, will notice. And in my question, I meant solutions that ensure safe use of the treadmill. What is the basic function of such a treadmill, in your opinion?
If someone is an active person, this is definitely not a rack for a clothes. I could imagine that this is stationary running.
Okay, so during this time, no harm should come to the person using this treadmill. What could happen? What do you think?
This is a waste topic. The internet is full of such videos showing what can happen on a treadmill when someone is using it. For example, I recently saw a lamp fall on someone's head.
There are also examples of someone failing and hitting the lamp with their feet. Well, that could be the case, except I mean the treadmill itself.
When it comes to the treadmill itself, for example, the first thing that comes to my mind is that the treadmill can suddenly stop or accelerate rapidly.
Hmm. And this is the first step of the analysis that needs to be done. What are the potential events that could lead to an accident? Such a treadmill could accelerate rapidly, lead to loss of balance, and ultimately the users could fall over, hurt themselves, break their arm, or graze their skin. And this is the severity, this assessment of how much the user could be injured while using the equipment.
Exactly, but now I'm thinking immediately about our fancy treadmill. Well, it has a handle, so if it happened that the user lost the balance because this treadmill accelerate or slow down, he would catch on it and not fall over. And this is maybe in the worst case, if he falls over, the safety bell will turn off this treadmill.
Well, it's super security. But how can you be sure that the handle will always work? How can you be sure that the safety trap will always work?
Well, I have a treadmill at home. This is similar to the treadmill, our fancy treadmill, as we call it, and it works at my home.
How many hours a week do you run on this treadmill?
Approximately 3 hours per week.
Well, that's only part of the day in the gym during which this treadmill will be used, right? So It's used practically non-stop in the gym, and that's so-called exposure. That is, for how long a period the user or any person is exposed to the risk that may be caused by this device from this treadmill. Yeah? So we have to determine how big the probability is that the mechanism will be damaged, taking into account the time someone is exposed to this treadmill. Does the treadmill have the ability to show that it's broken, damaged?
I have never seen such solution in this type of device at the gym. But for example, I have seen a person from the staff who goes there and supervises the equipment.
It can also be like that. It's also security mechanism that forces the service to perform periodic inspections. Inspections that can be daily, monthly, annually, depending on how the creator or manufacturer of this device defined it.
Okay, so it should be defined what needs to be checked, but does such a person have an opportunity to check everything during review?
Everything can be checked. Everything, if we are talking about what has been defined to be checked, then we can have some, I don't know, checklist, and the person responsible for it checks those things that the designer defined, that they must be checked regularly and successively. But I am saying that sometimes the possibilities are limited. It's easy to control the engine speed, but for example, the strength of the material at a given moment is harder to check. And this is so-called controllability. For example, a situation that tells us how we can control something. Is it a very strong way? So we have a full control. Or do we have no control at all?
Got it, but it refers to this material. If we knew that the material of the handle is weaker at particle temperature, it means it can work in certain temperature range. Or, for example, the humidity in which it works must be maintained, because then it will be also much weaker. Whether such information can be considered as the mechanism of functional safety?
Of course, yes. This is one of the basic things when it comes to the technical elements related to the material. If the operating temperature is outside the limit, the treadmill may not start, and this will prevent a potential accident and ultimately save the user. And this is the goal of functional safety.
So there may be more factors like that. This is humidity, as I said, temperature, but also the user weight, or for example, continuously operational time, which cannot be exceeded.
In functional safety, we focus on those functions whose malfunction leads to a risk to the life or health of the user. If, for example, too much humidity damages the display or the speaker, it is probably not in the remit of the functional safety engineer to define the safety mechanisms. Here we are talking about the so-called severity. It means how much a given failure can affect the life or health of the user. So probably in the cases I mentioned, not very much. Therefore, they will not be subject to the analysis of functional safety.
So following this line of reasoning, taking into account our two treadmills, and treadmill A, which is a first glance looks safer, it is not necessarily safe because we do not know whether the functions of this device have been properly constructed.
Well, we don't know that. When we see that handles, we hope that if we lean on them, they will hold us. And for example, if they don't hold me, they will probably break and could puncture my leg, and that will be all over.
Yeah, then it will be all over. But I have impression that if treadmill B does not have handles, then automatically there is no risk of breaking that handle.
It's natural that more functions or solutions used can lead to more threats. However, it's not certain that a device with only one functionality cannot kill the user.
So how we can tell which equipment is safer? Can you do it in a glance by looking at these devices?
It's impossible to evaluate such mechanism superficially. First, you need to define the needs and then determine the technical parameters and their values that will prevent the device from working in the event of a failure.
Sure. Well, then looking at the technical documentation that we have provided for both of our treadmills, we can see that treadmill B is designed in accordance with the art. It takes into account functional safety mechanism, which is of course confirmed in this documentation. We can also see that this is dedicated to work in gyms with a high traffic. It has a wide range of work in different temperatures and humidity.
Exactly. We certainly don't go by appearance alone. You need to know what you expect and compare those expectations with the manufacturer's technical parameters.
In this case, if device manufacturer provides so-called safety case, the probability that the device will not harm a person is very high. We would like to invite all of you who are interested in the topic on functional safety and other system engineering trainings to contact with SIBA Association.